Ayn Rand is the author of the novels The Fountainhead and Atlas Shrugged, and she's also the founder of a philosophy that she calls objectivism. The morality of objectivism is what she considers to be individualism and rational self-interest. Since she was an individualist, you would expect her to believe that how Americans choose their president should be based on an individual's merits rather than their gender, but that's not the case. Here's a clip of Ayn Rand on Donahue where she explains her views on the idea of a woman president.
It is not to a woman's personal interest to rule men. It puts her in a very unhappy position. I don't believe that any good woman would want that position.
Now, why would that be an unhappy position? Why would being president make a woman unhappy? I suspect this has something to do with Ayn Rand's views on the proper ways men and women ought to enjoy sex. She says that for a woman, to act as the superior, the leader, virtually the ruler of all the men she deals with would be an excruciating psychological torture. It would require a total depersonalization, an utter selflessness, and an incommunicable loneliness. She would have to suppress or repress every personal aspect of her own character and attitude. She could not be herself, that is, a woman. She would have to function only as a mind, not as a person, that is, as a thinker devoid of personal values. A dangerously artificial dichotomy which no one could sustain for long. By the nature of her duties and daily activities, she would become the most unfeminine, sexless, metaphysically inappropriate, and rationally revolting figure of all, a matriarch. Now, why would that be the case? In Rand's view, for a woman to enjoy being in a leadership position over men would be not virtuous, because it would be contrary to what Rand viewed as the very nature of being a woman. According to Rand, for a woman, qua woman, the essence of femininity is hero worship, the desire to look up to man. Also, a properly feminine woman does not treat men as if she were their pal, sister, mother, or leader. Things are different from men, though. Rand seems to believe that for a woman, sex is an act of celebrating a man and his virtues. And for a man, it's also an act of celebrating a man and his virtues, namely himself and his own virtues. She says, to a rational man, sex is an expression of self-esteem, a celebration of himself and of existence. This is why having as much power over men in general as, say, an American president would not be in a woman's interest, in Rand's view. She seemed to believe that a woman who had that much power over men in general would not be able to celebrate the virtues of men in a sexual way. A woman in such a position would not be able to look up to men in a way that Rand viewed as properly feminine. One might ask, if these were her views on sexuality, what were her views on homosexuality? According to the Atlas Society, an objectivist organization, Rand believed that homosexuality is a manifestation of psychological flaws, corruptions, errors, and unfortunate premises, and that it is both immoral and disgusting. Nowadays, objectivist organizations do seem to largely reject Ayn Rand's views on homosexuality, but they still embrace her views on sexuality generally, upon which her views on homosexuality are predicated. To be clear, she didn't seem to believe that a woman wouldn't be intelligent enough or rational enough to be president. Her objection seemed to be rather that it would be degrading for a woman to be president. I find this view to be rather weird. First of all, it seems to assume that attraction to men must be based on looking up to them in some sense, and it doesn't seem like she believed that a man's attraction to a woman should properly be based on the same sentiment. Maybe if she were alive today, she would say that men who look up to their wives are soy boy cucks or some such thing.